Hi, I'm really happy to be with you in this module number 2. We are in the part 1 and we are now going more and more deeply into our main subject, I mean identity. We are still in the wine business and we will see together with thanks of all the work of IDEVAN team how this can be done. So, what are you going to learn and to understand here? First, it's important from one module to the other to be sure that you well remind the information that we have seen previously. So we will remember the definition of the brand, then we will focus on what do consumers expect of a brand of wine or a sparkling or spirits, and after that we go deeply into identity to see how it is the heart of the brand. And I want you to share, because it's something very sensitive. If you can feel it, your consumer can feel it too. And we will go deeply into the feeling of brand identity. Here we are. So do you remember what is wine branding? Do you remember the definition of a brand? For example, of champagne like wine, or like a spirit like a cognac. What is this branding? So it can be a name, it can be a family name. And do you remember that it need to do two things, two important things? First, to identify, and at the same time to differentiate. And to differentiate what? Your wine or your wines from the one of your competitors. When you get that, you get a very important tool. So now, what do consumers expect of a brand? All the consumer are, of course, human beings, are adults, and we are forgetting too many times that they have a common desire, and this desire is to access to the universe of luxury and pleasure. They don't wake up in the morning saying, I want to have a glass of wine. They wake up saying, I want to have fun, I want to be chic, I want to have an exclusive experience. And if we replace wine in its identity, but in fact the identity of wine, without taking account of country or terroir or specific production area, wine is luxury and pleasure. So if we connect ourselves to that, we have done yet a big part of the job. So what do consumers expect of a brand? Here, and since a long time now, since I think since 20 years, I am working on the base of my work is based on the work of Jean-Noël Capferrer. Jean-Noël Capferrer is a very famous teacher in HEC, a very big business school in Paris. And this teacher was studying a lot the buying process in the luxury universe. And what he concludes is that the consumer is sensitive to the information communicated by the brand, and why? Because it's help him to choose. And in fact, consumer nowadays want the truth and want a guide. Not only in the wine business, it's in all the business. But in the wine business, it's even more strong, because you don't need wine to live. Wine is only for pleasure, for fun, for luxury, what I call luxury. So if you have truth and if you have a guide in this luxury universe, it's help you a lot to buy and to buy more. So one time you remind this, I try to be very simple because we can speak a lot about that, but I want to be very practical and very concrete. So you can say that the world of French wine is like a luxury world, but even outside of the French wine world, we can see that there is a lot of dispersion of communication efforts because uh, there is nowadays so many countries that are producing wines. So many, even you have a wine success story in Bali, for example. So nowadays there is such a big offer, such an abundance of offer when you are looking for a wine that you need absolutely to go deeply into the identity to find out new argument because all of the market is based on the same arguments. All are talking about oak barrel. That was a big mess the past years. Do we need to do wine aging in barrel or not? Do we need to be uh, more, how to say, more representative of our grapes, of our land? So we can perhaps explain how our terroir is really exceptional. But in fact, there is many terroir exceptional on the earth, thanks God. And so to make the difference, perhaps we can get a medal. Or it's not working, we have a stock, so let's do promotional prices. And when I focus on that point, on that argument, by yourself, you can notice that all the wine business worldwide is talking about the same thing. And this is the problem because how can the brand be different in that case? And I absolutely want you to remind this. 70% of all the consumer that we are asking question is all the time saying the main problem buying a wine is a problem of choice. We do not know how to choose the good wine for us. And each time, perhaps you can have seen that when you are saying, I am working in the wine business, all your friends are coming to you to say, please help me to find out a good wine. Because by themselves, they understand it's difficult in such a big offer to find out the good wine for them. But that also means something. That also means that all the market, all the world wine market is focusing only on 30% of the consumer because there is only 30% of the consumer that are buying even if at the beginning they were having a choice problem. So we are letting 70% of the consumer that are in a big mess of question about wine, lacking time to find out each answer. And so when you have a doubt, when you don't know, you don't buy or you buy less. It's as simple as that. So if we have powerful brand based on strong and true identity that are true guide for the consumer, we will help a lot of consumer to find out our differences and so to choose our wine, our brandy, our sparkling wine, and we will help them to remind our brand. And this will make a huge difference in our business. Remember that figure because it's so big. So after that, they want an help to better choose the wine, but they also have over expectation. So do you have answer to that, do you have yet think about this subject? What consumer expect of a wine brand? This is a big question. In fact, the answer in this case is also simple. Nowadays, consumer all over the world, this is in Asia, this is in America, in Europe, in a new emergent market, all the consumer are attracted by luxury. I was saying to you at the beginning that in the general identity of wine, there is some kind of luxury value. And this is why nowadays our life can be sometimes difficult. We have a lot of pressure, and with a glass of wine, you have access to prestige, you have access to sophistication, you have access to glamour. I tell it in French, easier for me. You have access also to environmental friendly, some connection with nature, story about the weather, story about like an artist walking with fruits. So you have that kind of very necessary connection to the nature that is really important, because all that consumer at 95% are living in big cities. They are urban. So being deconnected to the nature, they need also the wine to make a recognition, to connect themselves to the nature. So with luxury, you sold emotion. Because what is luxury? Luxury is to think it's good service, very good service. It's make to know if you are in a luxury experience. You just make the difference by the service, and the service is here to bring you emotions, or emotion brings the service. Sometimes it's going together, but if you remind that your wine can base its different through emotion and service, because this will guide consumers in their shows. And sometimes we forgot a lot about service, because we don't know how to organize the service around our wine, because we have not yet figured the strategy, what I call the identity strategy. But doing that with Edivin School, you will see it will be easier and easier. But I want you now to remind this point on luxury based on emotion and services. And in fact, you are starting to understand by yourself that identity is in the heart of the brand. Of course, how you can bring true emotion, how can you guide the consumer without a real and strong identity. And in wine, we have really strong identity, because we have all this information that can bring emotion. And you know that when you are tasting a wine, if you have the story of the wine, if you have the what I call the vibration of identity, you can better appreciate the wine. You will taste it better. So it's really important. It's not only something blah 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 marketing. It's really something deep that you can share from one human being to other human being with the vehicle of your wine. It's like a big sharing about earth messages. But you need to organize it. You can put very nice and pure thing, but we are in a material world, we are in a business world, so we need also to organize all this to have something efficient. Now we know identity is at the heart of the brand. And you can see from prestigious brands like, for example, Dom Perignon in Champagne or Hennessy for cognac, the consumer is always sensitive, and for next year and for a long time now, of the truth of the message. If the message, and you can see it with all the scandal we are facing all over the world in every domain, so to be powerful, it need to be truth, it need to be sincere, it need to be pure. And in the wine, we in French wine, I don't know if it's easier in French wine or in some other wine, but if you are working well, which I think, if you're here, it's easy to be truth. Because to make a good wine, to make a big wine, there is no 100 solution. You need to work on a specific land. You need to, I don't want to say control, but this is a part of the idea. You need to control the production. You need to captivate the production from the ground to the glass. So doing that, if you have a quality objective, you are yet in a truth process. You are yet in this necessity to be truth. So you're not far from identity. You just need a little help to find it out. So when I talk about identity, in fact, I talk about origin, but origin much more larger, much more bigger in a greatest sense of word, that what you can say only with origin, okay, this is that grapes, or this is this brand of grapes, and it's coming from this region, which is part of this region, which is part of this village, which is part of this uphill. I want you to perceive, to to open your mind of the sense of origin at the largest way you can, with a lot of sensitiveness. It's important. It's very simple, but each little simple sharing I am explaining or trying to explain here is important because it's strong. You can keep your appellation, you can keep your the administrative name for your countryside in your country, but the origin communicate two things as well: what make you different, and this is really important because all of us, all our brain is really organized to identify what is different. You have seen, I was talking of something else, and you have seen immediately that one bottle, pink bottle, disappear. And so if you are different to be different, as we have seen previously, it's not enough. The good solution is to be different, but also to feel the identity. If you are different with a strong identification, your brand is starting to do the job, and you can, little step by little step, one service by the other, build a luxury experience for your clients. So this is the truth that guide, and if you summarize identity, luxury, truth, be a guide, you can say that you need to focus on origin and difference. I think everything can be clear with example. I cannot take example in the wine business because if I take an example, each example get a strong identity, of course, and I will be like parasite by all the how to say all the things you can have in mind about that specific grades or that specific appellation or that specific country. So the thing I decide is to take example of famous brand of mineral water. I am not a pro mineral water or over. I don't like plastic bottle, but the thing is that if I tell you Evian, Evian it's a worldwide brand. Everybody know Evian, and everybody can have a specific idea of what is Evian. For example, the taste, but not only the taste. What is the Evian identity? And I want you now with this example to understand how it's built. If I talk about Evian, Evian, the origin, there is no appellation, there is no specific grapes, it's water. But the origin is a mountain, and this mountain name is Alpes. And in the symbolism, this mountain in between France and Italy and Switzerland, it's a very big mountain. I think it's one of the biggest in Europe, and it's very, because it's going very high, it's very pure. So, to be truth, they choose to talk about this mountain with the angle of purity. And what have they done? All the message, all the strategy is based on this claim. Perhaps you have seen Evian with a source of youth. It's all about to be young, all about even if they show a lady that is not so young, they work on the image with a baby body t-shirt. They were doing a lot of image with someone picture when he was baby and now. And it's all about the freshness, the purity, about to be young. And why? Because the snow in the Alps on the top of that mountain give a lot of purity to the water. And this is why this Evian is bringing the message of purity. But it is working only because they say it years after years after years, and all the time organizing services. They were selling the t-shirt or offering the t-shirt. They were doing a lot of things like that. They were making, it's very famous, Evian for the little aerosol bottle that you can put on your face when it's hot, just to have mineral water, like if it's not a cream but a freshness thing for your face. So if I compare to Volvic, I don't know if you know Volvic. It's another very famous mineral water in France, and Volvic cannot copy Evian because they are in the same country, in France, and Volvic is not from the same origin. Volvic is coming from volcanoes, and so they are taking the origin with a very large sense and talking about volcano. And what is giving volcano to the water? It's giving mineral, but the category is yet mineral water. So if they say Volvic coming from volcano is mineral, they have not enough difference. So what they do, they create a word which is volcanicity, mean mineral coming from the volcano, but it's really created by them. It was not existing before. And they put it everywhere with the volcano everywhere from years to years, and a lot of services in terms of communication around this idea of volcano. You can have it also in you can say, for example, mineral water is not very luxury, but let's take big luxury brand like Chanel, for example. Chanel is white and black. Why? Because at the beginning of Chanel there is Coco Chanel, and in the country, in France at that time, it was really not okay to be dressed in black without being in a sorry, I have a vocabulary like I found out. The word I was looking for is widow. So it was not accepted to be dressed in black without being a widow. And Coco Chanel was, in that period, was thinking it's very nice to use black as a color. And this is why, even nowadays, Chanel, in its identity, in its DNA of color, it's always white and black with a strong contrast in white and black. And when they are doing even a show today, they are really in the service for the image. They are really doing something about these two colors. Even the hair of the designer of Karl Lagerfeld are white to make a contrast with the black jacket. And this is little details that perhaps this is the first time you take note of that, but this is part of the luxury of Chanel. So everybody feels the emotion, everybody feel when I talk about Chanel that this is a luxury brand, but few understand how is it built, how they make the construction of all the elements to give this emotional luxury feeling. And this is why I am here with you, even with my strong French accent, to share you the best tool to do that in wine. And I assure you, you can be sure that we can do that together. So let's say Christian Lacroix. Christian Lacroix, I don't know, perhaps it's less famous than Chanel, but Christian Lacroix is coming from the south of France, same countryside than me. And at the beginning, Christian Lacroix is coming from Arles. And in Arles, there is a lot of bullfight. And when you understand that, you understand why Christian Lacroix is doing, that dress. That dress is really looking like torero, like the dress of the costume of the man in an arena fighting the bull. So this makes really the difference of Christian Lacroix. And even when in France they ask Christian Lacroix to design a train, the inside of the train, you find out the same color, because that color are really part of the identity of Christian Lacroix. But you have the same in alcohol. I am not taking wine example because it will be not enough clear, but with all this example, I think slowly by slowly, it starts to be very clear in your mind. Sorry. So this beer that you know, Sol, is coming from Mexico. What you cannot put out of Mexico is sun. It's very sunny. So all the time, origin or identity is something really connected to the brand, really connected to the origin, because nothing exists without this. So if the sun is part of Mexico, and if you want to build value on a beer from Mexico, you use sun. It's as simple as that. And sun color or gold or orange or yellow. So you work on that kind of color, and all the time you repeat the message. And with the sun, what you want when it's sunny, you have less clothes. You want freedom, and even freedom is also connected to the spirit of Mexico. So with that, you have something very true, very strong, that can build value around the origin of this beer. to the opposite with Belvedere, the vodka. This vodka, as you know, is not made in Russia, but in Poland. But for a lot of consumers, there is not so much difference. They are not focusing on this geographical point. And what is the identity of vodka is to be made in the cold, to be made in ice weather with a lot of snow. So the color is white, the universe is ice, and being strong on that, focusing only on that, giving services, for example, offering here something to break the ice. You understand how do they build the luxury and the brand image and the identity of Belvedere vodka? Because they are connected to something really true and really stronger than themselves that everybody can understand. And even they go further with true luxury vodka, because this is the only vodka focusing at that point on ice. I wish you can feel it too. So did you feel identity of Belvedere? Just looking to the image, this can be enough. Huh? Did you feel it, for example, for Sol? Did you feel it for Chanel? Did you feel it for Evian? And now we will need to do the work for your brand. We need to work on your brand identity, because this is the same. Even if you have a smaller budget than the big brand we were talking about, you have an identity. Your wine brand, even if you have less investment power, you have a stronger identity because you are in the wine business, and there is nothing stronger than identity in the wine business. So what I mean, there is, in the wine business, we have like a luxury reserve. It's like a gold reserve to create value if we focus on identity, and if we stop to focus on making a copy of what I've done, this big brand, the other brand, and so on. If everybody in the wine business focus on its identity for our umbrella brand, we have a huge reserve to create value. And how can we do that? So if we want to work without identity, we have a lot of risk if we want to do something, because nowadays it's on fashion to do packaging in that way. On 5 years later, it will be another fashion on packaging. But when you take in account identity, when you say Evian is coming from this mountain, and I focus all my energy, all my communication, all my packaging, all the service I can build, all the experience for my consumer I can organize, I focus on this mountain. And so even with limited investment, you are sure to have a big result, because identity is true, and all the work you will do will be in the good direction, and will build a luxury experience. So working on identity is a way to limit the risk of error in your strategy. We have done a good job too. We are here finishing the module number 2. We have only another module to be on the end of this part, and it's a big work. It seems simple. I'm really sorry for my accent. I think working with you more and more, I will improve it, and I'm here to share with you all my tools. But it's in two ways. It's a win-win experience. I am sharing it. I am improving also my tools, and I am really here to show you the power of your identity. Too many times I see wine growers They are happy to do wine in their country, but they were like dreaming, oh, if I was a champagne, oh, if I was having a Gevrey Chambertin vineyard. No, you are enough, you have yet enough. It's only the tool you need, and if it's working for French luxury brand, it can work for you too. So congratulate yourself to have find out this 11 school tool, and thanks yourself also to be successful to understand me. And in the model number 3 together, we will go really in the heart of the heart of our work, because we will analyze your brand identity, yours, and we will do it together. How do you feel? Always the same question. It's important because it's moving a lot of things, even if we are in a professional field. Talking about identity, talking about truth, talking about luxury, have also impact of what we were doing, and the chance to make some changes. So always take a time between one module to the other to say or to share also how do you feel about all this information. And you can share it on Facebook, on our pages, and if you have questions, we are here to give you the answer through email or through a direct Skype consultation. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you in the other module. Bye.